Good morning, everyone. So first of all, it's a real honor to be here today. I'm Scott Weiner of the honor of representing San Francisco and part of San Mateo County in the California State Senate. And I want to really thank the organizers for doing this event and for making clear that inclusion matters here in the Bay Area. We're in this weird moment in time right now in the United States where, because of some of the political stuff that's happened over the last couple of years, it's sort of calling into question some of the basic assumptions that we all have about the values of this country, about whether diversity and inclusion matter. And we have a president and others who are basically saying it doesn't, and they've opened up this Pandora's box. We spent many, many years taking some of the hate and the racial anger and the homophobia and the misogyny and putting it into a box and saying this isn't part of our discourse anymore. And that box has now been opened. And we've all seen the results over the last few years. And we see it on TV, we see it on social media. People now feel liberated to say inclusion doesn't matter. In fact, they'll say inclusion is bad and we need to go back to the way it used to be. And our role is, I think, to push back on that. So that's not true. We were headed in the right direction. We weren't there yet, but we need to keep going there. So we have this happening in the country. Now, of course, we're in progressive California, progressive Bay Area. So everything is better here, right? It's all perfect. Well, unfortunately not. We have progressive Hollywood, and we see what's happening there with everything that's happening around Harvey Weinstein and the Me Too campaign, and really I think the really positive thing that this has opened up just a really powerful and overdue discussion around sexual harassment and sexual assault, and you can be really liberal, a really liberal lefty Hollywood mogul, and still not really get it and be victimizing people. I have the honor of serving in the California legislature, probably the most progressive legislature in the country. 2/3 progressive Democratic majority passed really aggressive laws to protect women's health, to protect immigrants, to protect LGBT people, to ensure universal access to health care. And yet, as you may have read in the paper yesterday, 140 women and growing signed a letter, legislators, lobbyists, staff, about the culture of harassment and sexism in our capital, this hyper-progressive place, that there are problems that we have here. And we know that in the tech sector, again, a really liberal, progressive industry by so many standards in terms of going to bat for so many issues that we care about, there are still challenges, as you know, as we saw with that letter or that guy wrote about how we really shouldn't be necessarily welcoming women proactively into tech, and some of the other challenges that the industry has just in terms of reflecting our broad community. And so I think it's just a lesson that no matter how progressive or enlightened we think we are, we still have a lot of work to do. And we have to be willing to look in the mirror and face the hard truth. I'm a gay white man. I do a lot of work to, for example, expand paid parental leave. But I will never truly understand what it means to be a woman who gives birth and then it's just expected to leave the workforce and have your career potentially set back, and you'll deal with it later. And meanwhile, your career is set back potentially permanently, which is how we've always done it in this country, which is one of the reasons we have such wide wage disparities, because we haven't had equity in terms of caring for a new child or for a sick family member. It's expected that women will do it. I try really hard to do that work to help, but I'll never really understand. And I have a lifelong learning that I have to do to make sure that I'm working with women and trying as hard as I can to understand and to be a good ally. So many people support the LGBT community, which is fantastic. But if you haven't been walking down the street as a trans woman of color, with really high murder rates in this country, people don't understand truly what that means to have that level of fear and anxiety just walking down the street. We all have to work really hard to do it. We've done some aggressive legislation around gender identity and people who are trans and gender nonconforming, but we have to continually work to have that empathy, to understand that I'll never know what it's like to be deeply worried that my family members are going to be deported to another country. But we have a responsibility, I do and we all do, to make sure that we're standing up for immigrants. And that is also true in the workforce. It's so easy to fall back, whether I'm hiring in my office or whether a technology company is hiring, that we are, as human beings, often drawn to people who are like us. That's what's comfortable, to be around people and be drawn to people who look like us, who maybe went to the same school as we did, who have similar experiences. That's human nature. And we have to try to, never going to truly break it. Human beings are sort of wired the way we are, but try to get past that and to be more awake and attuned to the reality that you can't do that. That we need to make sure that we are trying to get out of our comfort zone and that automatic default setting and working to expand opportunities, and that people from a lot of different areas and a lot of different schools can do just amazingly fantastic work, but we have to proactively look for that and decide that we're going to do that rather than just setting in motion this generational thing where you just keep hiring people who are like you or went to your schools, and you end up creating a big problem in terms of lack of diversity. And so, we have a lot of work to do, but I think that we can do it. And especially now in this country, we all have a responsibility, those of us who, from many, many different communities who believe in inclusion and the power of diversity, we have a responsibility to be in coalition with one another, to work together, to do everything in our power to understand where people from various communities and backgrounds are coming from. People to understand where I'm coming from, for me to understand where others are coming from, and to work together and to just build each other up. And I know that we can do that. I'm an optimist. And again, thank you for being here today, and I look forward to the panel discussion. Thank you.